a straight line viewed, a washing line pulled straight. We'll assume it's 100% straight, okay? No matter which direction you look at the washing line from, it will look like a straight line pointing in, different directions as regards your position, but it'll be straight. But a straight line on a curved surface, like a large ball that you're holding, only looks straight if you look at the line from vertically above it or vertically below it, but you couldn't see through the material of the ball, but you can imagine the shape and it would still look like a straight line. It wouldn't be straight in the other dimensions, but in the dimension you're looking at it, from your perspective, it looks straight. This gives you a feel for what more or fewer dimensions do as regards the appearance of things from your perspective. So, you live in a world of whatever number of dimensions we've got, which might also include time and 3 dimensions as we think of it. But now imagine a 4-dimensional world, or another dimension that you're not cognizant of. In that reality of perspective, things are different. Now, if it's not the physical but the mental that counts with us, what we think, which is according to what we experience, which is according to the dimensions we have. Well, we might think of space and time, but now we're also thinking of a thought dimension. And if we are beings that are of this dimension, possibly as well as the dimensions we're used to, space and time, but now thought as well, then to change those thoughts, to change what we are in that dimension, makes all the difference in the world that we actually have, which is perhaps one of space and time, whilst we're alive. But what about a thought, or spirit if you like? And then it occurs to me, is it that there are the possibility of 2 other dimensions, not just thought, but spirit too, which I won't define at the minute, is just a bit complicated here, because we tend to think in our 3-dimensional world plus time. To add thought as a dimension in its own right seems strange, but then to add time was a strange thing, really, wasn't it? Time seemed very different to 3 dimensions of, height, breadth and width. But time makes such a difference. It's either here or not here at the minute, according to time. And thought, perhaps it's not in existence from our point of view if we're not thinking of it. And then spirit may complicate existence yet again. I mean, for argument's sake, if we're spiritually dead, you can imagine we have thought, space and time, but no spirit. Perhaps that's what a computer is. It seems to have thought in that it comes up with all the description of the three-dimensional world and even time, but doesn't have spirit. Now we'd better define or say something about what spirit is. It's something about values and emotions and not just assigned purpose, but sovereignty of purpose according to its values, which are all something to do with spirit. Oh. And now I'm tempted to say spirit itself is just an aggregate, a bit like physical matter of space, length, breadth and height. That spirit may be of values and relation to memory. If you have certain values, you have a certain memory, view of the world. But if you change your values, you forget those memories. You have another selection of memories that are related to your values. You change who you are. I don't quite want to go further because it seems too complicated now. If I try to, I'm at my boundary of imagination for the minute. But if I stay at the boundary long enough, it'll be extended further, I expect. And then I wonder if there's any limit to it. And that God is in the process of probably way beyond many boundaries of dimensions, of number and type. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns in heaven above, in wisdom, power, and love, thank God. Our God is an awesome God. Love you, Heavenly Dad. Do you see, I couldn't venture beyond my boundary, but for this hope that God is not just awesome, but safe. Safe from my perspective. Else I'm in fear. And fear is an incredible bondage. It destroys life. Isn't that strange? So we've found in religion a solution to fear, a determination to trust, that there is therefore a purpose to eternal life. That ensures it, without which you don't have eternal life. You're in fear. Eternal life must therefore turn on not being in fear, because fear will constrain your freedom, something chronic. And that something is trust. Which comes of a freedom. Am I free to trust? Or am I in bondage in fear? I want to say for the moment, I'm not sure how valid it is, that fantasy, imagination, fairy tales, make-believe, gives me an experience temporarily in the story, listening to a story, gives me an experience, an insight into the of such freedom. So in fantasy I imagine, say, flying, although in reality it's not true. But for a minute I dream of being, I imagine being able to fly. The dwelling on such gives me a desire for such, if the dwelling on such brings an imagination of pleasure and freedom that I want. So I may addictively dwell on such more. Tell me another story, Dad. No, you should go to sleep, sweetheart. Oh, just one more story. Okay. Let me think. I'm not a storyteller, but I'm imagining such, aren't I? Hang on, you are a storyteller, Marshall. You're a storyteller for adults, adult children, that they may glimpse a possible alternative that they want and value. And if you don't have an idea of what you value, you can't possibly move towards that which is valued as better, because you're not valuing it yet. So make-believe and fairyland can be, story time, can be an incredible help to building what you value. And it might be incredibly destructive too. You might dream of and value being emperor, and trying to achieve being emperor destroys you, because there's too many other people who want to be emperor too and become pretty ruthless in its pursuit, which involves your death and removal. So, you want to be sure the story is of God, which actually means is of your God. You want to be sure that the story is from a point of view of the values that you have. That's most important, because they're your values. Right. Jesus' story purports to be that. They believe that thou sent me. And in some sense we're saying, you're God. You might question whether Jesus' God is your God, of course. After all, Jesus seems to value getting crucified, and you definitely don't. But he wasn't crucified at this point, so you can run with him while he's not got to that part of the story. Ultimately, it's got to be your values. That's the point of this recording. But for eternal life, your values have got to change to be consistent and in harmony with eternal life. And since life seems to include not just creativity and value, but family, relationships to other life, communion, in other words, ideally, communion is defined by what is perfectly relational. Okay? I need rest. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Hey, this has just come up to 17 minutes. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.